My name is Andrea Reyes, and I am a cancer education specialist and community health educator from Columbia Cancer Center, located up on 168th Street in Broadway, Manhattan. This presentation is called Our Environment, Our Health. So as I'm talking, I don't want you to just think of yourselves, think about your family, your friends, your loved ones. And we're going to be talking about chemical exposures, things that you can avoid to not get chemicals in your body that can affect your health, your immune system, and more. Okay, so the goals of the workshop is for everyone to understand how the things in our environment affect our health, understand that chemicals that can lead to cancer can show up in everyday life, and learn how to start making changes in your lifestyle, in your environment, in your community to help lower your risk of cancer. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is understand how the environment affects our health, right? But first we want to define health just so that it is clear to everyone. So what is health? So health is thought of as the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or illness, right? So you're like, I'm healthy because I'm never sick. But we have to think about our bodies, our mind, our mental health, and then our social, because everyone needs people around them who are positive, that can work with them and help them and just be supportive. So that's called the social support aspect of health. Environmental health deals with understanding and how the environment affects your health. So these are just things that we see every day, right? You know, people dye their hair, people use beauty products, but those are actually chemicals. Playing in the forest is wonderful and actually very healthy for you. You definitely don't want to drink that water though. Cities need highways, they need traffic, they need cars and people to help them function, but all of those cars cause pollution. In terms of water, we in New York City are very lucky that our water in most places is really healthy. There definitely have been some buildings where lead is found in the pipes, but that is not all the buildings. And compared to the other countries, we're doing pretty good with the water. Here's another picture. You know, traffic is unfortunately necessary, right? We need to get to school, to work, to visit our loved ones, but it causes a lot of pollution. And farms are necessary. We need food, but unfortunately, pesticides are put on the farm. So just stuff to get you thinking about what environmental health is. And there's things called environmental risk factors, right? So risk factors are the things that raise a person's risk for developing anything, right? But what we're talking about here is cancer, because I'm going to be talking about things that we know scientifically can lead someone to cancer or developing precancerous cells, and it's everywhere. And that's what we're here to talk about, right? So in general, it's good to avoid exposure or contact with these chemicals, especially the ones that we know that cause cancer. So, you know, there are risks in the air that we breathe, in the food that we eat, what we touch and put on our skin, and in some places in the water that we drink. You know, we talked about what environmental health is and what is health, but it's also important to know what is cancer. Oftentimes someone thinks that, oh, cancer is just one disease, but it's actually really not. It's over 100 different diseases depending on where someone gets it, right? So it can happen almost anywhere in the body. And what it is that it occurs when cells can't repair damage to their DNA. So each cell has a nucleus, which is like a little brain, and there's stuff in there that makes it work, like putting it very simplistically, like a little engine. And if you chip away and you hammer that engine, that cell's not going to work right. Sometimes it just dies and the body clears it. But with cancer is very tricky, and the cells end up not dying. And they end up going haywire and acting in ways that they shouldn't. And that's what happens. That's how your body becomes damaged through cancer. Also important to note that being exposed to harmful risk factors today or when you were younger can result in cancer many years from now. And a perfect example is that when people smoke. So someone might have smoked in their 20s and now they're 60, now they're 70, and now they're having trouble breathing. Doctor goes and looks and there's nodes in your lungs or cells that are cancerous or precancerous in your lungs, and you're like, but I haven't smoked in 40 years. But that's why they say that the damage that you had earlier in life can affect you later. And in the photo, it's just some examples of cancer, right? So thyroid, breast, liver, gallbladder, kidneys, you know, named after, of course, the area of the body where someone gets it. You can get not just in your organs, but you can get it in your blood. So like multiple myeloma is cancer within your blood cells, right? And so these are things that we know that can damage our cells, that are like hands down scientifically proven over and over. And that's what I'm going to talk about, because it's hard to control the things that we don't know, or we're not sure if they cause cancer, but these things are doable, right? So tobacco smoke, any smoke, that's really what that should say. So it's not just from cigarettes, it can be from hookah, from marijuana, from smoking, things like, so for example, look how different a hookah is from a cigarette, but they both can change your cells and damage your cells. So any type of smoke in the lungs, any, is not good for your body. We know that UV rays, ultraviolet rays from too much sunlight on your skin can change your cells and make them cancerous. We also know that alcohol can damage the lining of your digestive tract. So it can start in your mouth. You can get cancer from drinking too much alcohol in your mouth, in your esophagus, in your throat, in your stomach, in your intestines. What makes it worse is if you're drinking alcohol or someone, not you, but someone is binge drinking, which means for women, more than 4 drinks in 2 hours, and for men, more than 5. And what happens is that your body doesn't have what's called DNA repair mechanisms to fix the damage from that assault of alcohol that people put in their bodies all at once. So that's something to keep in mind. Alcohol is a huge risk factor for developing cancer. And then there are things that are chemicals in our environment that we could inhale or get on our skin, right? So a big one is pesticides. We live in New York. There are pests, right? There are roaches, there are mice, there are God knows what else, lots of other things that can enter our apartments. And people use aerosols and sprays. And those are the most dangerous types because you get these little microscopic droplets of this chemical and these pesticides that kill bugs in the air, and we breathe them in, and it's very bad for us. Fumes from cars, right? Because that puts something that's called black carbon out into, that's a soot that appears on your windowsills. That's actually really bad for you to breathe in. This is not something that we can totally help, right? Because we live in New York City and there's millions of cars everywhere. But just to have you be aware that this is something that's very dangerous for your body. And things that cause cancers are called carcinogens, right? So it's a chemical that hasn't been absolutely proven to cause cancer. And if a chemical or an exposure to it has been labeled a carcinogen, it has been greatly studied, and a government agency has reviewed the evidence and determined that it can cause cancer, okay? And one example is asbestos. Okay, so these are the major, as I said before, we talked about them already, but the major environmental carcinogens. So we know smoke from products that you smoke, tobacco products. We know pesticides. We know VOCs stands for volatile organic compounds. And that comes from cars. It also comes from like when you paint your house, that smell of paint that sticks around for days. That's the paint doing something that they call off-gassing. It's just releasing its gases into the air, and that's why you smell it. It's actually really bad for you. And also cleaning products. And I'll talk to you more in detail about what you can do about it. Metals are also cancer-causing. Metals are found in vape pens, and you're inhaling microscopic metals. People who are metal workers and breathe in the smoke, and welders, and here, people who work with metals at work in factories and who have been exposed to lead. Then there's this other class of chemicals called PAHs. The long name is complicated. It's polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. And that's when you burn a substance and it causes this black smoke, this burnt carbon. And you can inhale that from when buildings use old oil, right? Bus fumes, although now it's gotten better because a lot of the buses are hybrid, but also when you burn your meats, these chemicals form. So one rule, this is something that you can control. Never, ever, ever char or burn your meats. You want to make sure, you can roast, boil, but if it's burnt, cut that piece off, because that creates the burning, changes the chemical composition of the meat, and it can cause you damage that you definitely don't want. So not only firsthand smoke, but secondhand smoke. So if you've been around smokers your whole life, you want to report that to your doctor, and maybe they can do like a CT scan of your lungs or something to make sure that you don't have these nodes that appear in your lungs as precancer. Okay, So current and heavy smokers are more than 100 times more likely to get lung cancers compared to non-smokers. This number gets smaller if you quit, but you never return to normal even after 35 years of not smoking. Pesticides and herbicides are chemicals used to kill insects and weeds, right? When you get your food home from the market, absolutely wash it really well. You can peel it, right? Some vegetables you can peel, but let them soak. Sometimes I even use a tiny, tiny bit of dish soap just to make sure that these fruit and vegetables are clean. You can always use gel or traps or sticky glues instead of using sprays for pesticides in your home. For the VOCs, you paint your home, you can buy low VOC paint, which is a lot healthier than the regular standard. But also keep in mind, right, you can find this stuff in paint thinners and in household cleaning products, which we'll talk more about in a few minutes. Metals I talked about, right? Not great to breathe in, get on your skin, or drink in the case of lead. So how do these things get into our bodies, right? So we can eat them or accidentally swallow them. And what happens is that when we have this carcinogen and it gets into our bodies, it gets processed through our bodies, and it gets into our bloodstream. When we inhale, it goes into our lungs, processed by the body, gets into the bloodstream. You know, the bloodstream pumps throughout your whole body, so then those chemicals spread through every part of your body. And you can get chemicals on your skin that can get absorbed into your skin, and that also gets into your bloodstream. So things to keep in mind. How harmful chemicals affect your body depends on a lot of different things, right? It depends on how much exposure did you get, for how long you got the exposure, how often you're exposed to this chemical or these chemicals, what type of contact with the body, and if the person is a vulnerable person. So children are vulnerable people considered. They are more affected by chemicals. Anybody who is sick or has a depleted immune system, they can become more sick from these chemicals. The elderly or women who are pregnant. Some people get exposed to VOCs, right, at work. How many people do you know that like clean for a living, right? So they might, for example, be cleaners at a school, right? And they've got to mop with these dangerous chemicals every single day. Not good for their bodies, but understanding also that they need a job. So the other part is, you know, this is something that, for example, you or someone you know does, you want to make sure that you advocate for safer cleaning products, right? Because cleaning fluid in the air, it could potentially touch your skin, but mostly you're inhaling it, and it can be dangerous for you if you're part of that vulnerable group, which is, again, here the example is pregnant women, but people who are sick, people who have depleted immune systems, people who are older, and people who are very young. Common sources of chemical exposure, right? There's air pollution, and this doesn't have to only be outdoor. It can also be indoor, and more on that in a few minutes. Chemicals in commercial cleaning products and chemicals in personal care products. And all of these can damage your cells that can lead to cancer. So one thing we'll talk about, I want all of you to think about, look, you know, how can I make my home healthier? What are the things that I do that I can do differently so that I'm not getting chemicals, right? So, you know, always if you're cleaning or cooking, try to ventilate the house, try to open your windows. If you're going to use a chemical or a spray of some kind, put on gloves, don't get it on your skin. You can wear a mask also. We all have those these days. Open up the windows, maybe put a fan to bring the air out. Again, avoid spray pesticides. And one thing that I put here, it's really important, take off your shoes when you enter your home and never walk with outside shoes in your home. This will reduce the amount of cleaning floors that you need to do. You won't have to mop with heavy chemicals because you know that you're not bringing dirt onto the floor. You're in socks, you're in house slippers, you're barefoot. So that's a really big deal if you can keep the shoes maybe somewhere near the door, but not walk around the apartment in them. And also if you are able to, and I know they're expensive, so I can't say everyone can do this, but you can remove dust with a damp cloth, right? Instead of a damp cloth and Clorox. You can remove dust by vacuuming also with a HEPA filter. There are HEPA vacuums, or even if you just use a dust mop, dry or damp, it's better than, you know, I know some people that use different chemicals or like Mistoline or Fabuloso. All of those have chemicals that are not great for your body. So damp cloth, water, wet dust mop, those do so much better. Okay. How do we improve air quality at home? Again, open your windows when you can, understanding that in the winter it's freezing out, but do the best that you can with keeping them a little bit cracked open. Ventilate with clean outdoor air as much as possible. Things to avoid: any smoke whatsoever. Scents and sprays. Some people are like, oh, I want my house to smell good. I'm going to spray this Wizard air freshener everywhere, or this Febreze, or I'm going to use those Glade plugins. All of those put into the environment a chemical called phthalates, and those actually affect your hormonal system. So people that are highly exposed to phthalates through these type of products like scents and sprays, it's found in their bloodstream, and that can cause damage to your cells, right? And then the other thing is like, having cigarette smoke in your home, lighting candles, incense, and I said before, spray pesticides. If you can avoid as much as possible all of these products, you will be healthier. Choose products that are fragrance free for everything. And I know, you want to shower with a super flowery shampoo. If you can get one that says all natural, mostly chemical free, that's just healthier for you. If you're able to get an air purifier, especially if you live like on a big avenue or in an area where there's lots of traffic, it's better if you just have it like in the room that you spend the most time in. And when you go to sleep, put it in your bedroom, because that's going to clean the air so that less gets into your lungs. Commercial cleaning products. Here in the US, most commonly used products don't provide a full list of their chemicals on their labels, because of law and because the companies can get away with it. Keep in mind that the health effects of some chemicals, right? You can be allergic to them and just not tolerate them at all. They can irritate or burn your lungs and skin. They can cause asthma symptoms or provoke an asthma attack, right? They have been found in people's livers, metabolites, which are like parts of these chemicals, and other organs as well. It can cause also long-term health concerns. Which ones are the most hazardous? Cleaning products found in homes like oven cleaners, drain cleaners, liquid Drano, and acid-based toilet cleaners. So again, if you can buy like 7th generation, which is sold in most major supermarkets, product called Method, they sell that in Target, it's better than buying these other ones, which are not good for you. Okay, safer tips for home cleaning, right? Oftentimes these products, like in the last picture, they have danger or warning listed on the label. So if this says danger or warning, think twice about purchasing it, right? Again, like I said, open windows when vacuuming, right? So you're not breathing in dust. When using cleaning products, avoid using spray products or aerosols. Sprays create mist that can find their way deep into our lungs, right? Use a damp cloth and vacuums with filters to clean up household dust. There are products that say fragrance or parfum in the ingredients. If you can avoid, that would be great. And, we recommend an exposure reduction approach, right? Which means like, all right, you go home, or you're sitting at home already. It's like, what can I do to reduce my chemicals? Look around. What can I do better? What can I do next? And there's, you can Google like cleaning solutions, make your own at home. A lot of people just take, 1 part white vinegar and 1 part water, kind of half and half, put it in a spray bottle and just clean like their kitchens and stuff with the vinegar water mix. It'll smell like vinegar for a little bit, but then that goes away and it's clean. Right? Harmful chemicals in personal care products, right? So nail polishes, hair dye, even lotions, even makeup. Keep in mind, like if you don't need makeup today, don't put it on. If you just run into the store, I know some people like to get all done up, but think about when you're putting these things on your body and your skin, they have chemicals. And if you can use them minimally, maybe when you're going out and being around people, but definitely not if you're just kind of sitting at home, right? Perfume, not on your skin, put it on your clothing so that you're not getting those chemicals on your skin, okay? And again, this is the name phthalates. You can always look this up if you'd like and see what the harms are. It's PHTHALATES. And so just keep in mind what you're using, right? And if you can minimize it or use it less, it's better for you. Some people like to download apps, right? So there's this app called Think Dirty, and you could put in the name of like your shampoo, let's say, right? And it'll tell you which chemicals are dangerous and which ones are safe in this app. So somebody put in their shampoo here, and they've got 2 chemicals that are known to be unsafe. And then all of the other things are pretty okay, right? So this is just a way for you to check labels, and you can download this Think Dirty app, which is free, onto your phone. And you can go and scan like all the products in the beauty supply store if you'd like. These are just other advice to lower your risk of cancer, because I work at the cancer center and that's what we definitely want to try to teach the community. So start making small changes in your lifestyle. It's very empowering, and in your environment and even in your community. Help others realize, hey, look, you burn incense all the time. You're breathing that in. You let people smoke around you, or you smoke, or, whatever it is. Or when you cook with grease, you're not opening the windows. Put in a fan in the window and get that all out of your apartment. So that's just little things that you can tell other people to do as well, if it's not too much of a burden. So other things that you can do, try to exercise. Everybody's body is different. Not everyone can exercise at least 3 days a week for 30 minutes. But if you can do anything at all, you absolutely do it. If you can do more than 30 weeks, even better for you, right? 30 minutes a day, I'm sorry, it's better for you. Always eat a balanced diet. I know you've probably heard that a million times: of fruit, vegetables, starch, and protein. Now, if you can make half of your plate fruits and vegetables every time you eat, that's an absolute win. I teach a nutrition class, and that's one thing that we always tell people, like, if half your plate is not fruit or vegetables, then try to make it so as much as possible. Limiting your alcohol, not drinking at all, is optimal, but if you're gonna drink, limit it to 1 per day, a small 1 per day, or nothing at all, right? And then finally, don't smoke, and don't let others smoke in your home, on you, or near you. And that all of these things are going to lower your risk of cancer later in life. Even if you're in late life, right? There's never a time that's too late. You can always start making changes. Okay, going back to what I said, I put this slide in because I just want people to realize how easy it is. I know this is a lot of stuff. Not everyone's going to eat this whole big mix, but half of your plate here, you see, is vegetables and fruit. It can be any kind. It could be all of one, but you want to make sure that you consume the rainbow, because this is what helps your body, gives the fuel to your body to fight disease and to fight cancer, right? They can be boiled, cooked, canned, fresh. And one day you might eat greens, the next oranges, the next reds and blues, and you just mix them during the week. And you can ask yourself, hey, did I eat the rainbow this week? Like, what didn't I have? Oh, I didn't have any greens. Let me try to get that. In terms of protein, see, it doesn't have to be meat. There is meat here, but you can do eggs, nuts, seeds, beans, tofu, cheese. All of these are things that contain protein that you absolutely need, but these are just options for people who want options. And then whole grains. Try, a lot of people love like white bread and white rice, and that's fine sometimes, but you've got to make sure that you get your whole grains. Maybe, you 1 week you'll buy the white that you love, but then the next you've got to do the multi-grain. Alternatives to white rice are quinoa, wild rice, whole wheat pasta, couscous, brown rice, right? So all of these are really good alternatives to the white starchy stuff that we're really used to eating, but should be consuming less of. Water should be your drink of choice, but people need dairy to a degree. And if you can get some cheese and you need the calcium, find a way to get your calcium. And then finally, these are guidelines for cancer screening. So look at these ages. Definitely at your age, make sure that you've had a pap smear with an HPV test. They do it at the same time. That's super important because HPV can cause cervical cancer. By age 40, talk to your doctor about getting your mammograms if you haven't done so already. And if you're not going every year, trust me, cancer grows really fast in a breast. Make sure that you make that appointment as soon as possible if you have not. By age 45, people should have had at least 1 colonoscopy. And the federal guidelines are that by age 55, you could transition to mammogram every 2 years. I always say, you know what, go every year, because older women get cancer. And if you're going every 2 years, that could spread so fast. Go every year, every 12 months exactly. If you have men in your life, by age 45, they've got to get their colorectal cancer screening. And by age 50, talk about prostate with the doctors. Just mention it, have the conversation. This is just other apps that can help you reduce your exposure to carcinogens. Here, you can make your own sanitizer and ointments, and you can look up like recipes for that on this app all the way on the right. This Nature's Nurture, teaches you like laundry detergent and how to make green household cleaners. The EWG Healthy Living, that's probably one of my favorites because you can look at products and see what chemicals they have. And if any, you don't need to know the names of chemicals, right? But if you see that there's too much red, then you want to avoid that product. And also one called Detox Me, and it talks about your entire life. and how you can detoxify from chemicals. This is very entertaining to do, and you can definitely learn some really important things. And again, this is just another way that you can reduce your exposure, right, to carcinogens, which are cancer-causing chemicals. These are the small changes that you can make in your life to do that, okay?